Good morning. Today we're going to be reading through uh, Chapter 2 of Sherlock Holmes, The Sign of the Four. In the first chapter, nothing really much happened. I think they were just establishing some background that Holmes is a drug addict, basically, is what Chapter 1 was all about. Okay, we're not just going to be reading the words, we're going to be talking about interesting vocabulary words and interesting phrases as we go. So if you're learning English and you're a pretty advanced learner, this is a wonderful way to get a better understanding of certain vocabulary or phrases. And we're doing this live, so if you're watching this with me right now, you can ask questions in the chat. What does this mean? What does that mean? I encourage it. If you don't ask questions, then I will just stop sometimes to talk about words that I think could be interesting for you. All right, and then don't also when we finish the chapter, we will practice some of the interesting vocabulary words that we learned, and we'll be using real people who want to improve their accent. We don't just focus on pronunciation, we focus on intonation and accentuation, which is really what will help you to improve your accent. So if you're trying to get rid of your accent, don't go away when the chapter is finished, because that's when the fun starts. That's when we start doing some work. And as usual, the first two volunteers in Discord after the video starts are the people who will practice. And so far we've got Pachu. Good morning, Pachu. How are you doing today? Pachu's volunteered, so we can take one more volunteer today. And if you want to volunteer, there's a link to the Discord server that we use in the description. All right, so let's get started with Chapter 2 of The Sign of the Four. And the title of the chapter is The Statement of the Case. Miss Morstan entered the room with a firm step and an outward composure of manner. Okay, so something firm is something very solid, something very sure. So if she entered the room with a firm step, she entered very confidently. And composure is how you carry your body, or the way your body looks. So this kind of composure maybe means lazy or sad or depressed. This is a very confident composure. So composition is like the form of your body. Your composure is the form of your body. So, well, in this case, composure is the form of your body. Composure just means the form. Miss Morstan entered the room with a firm step. So she was very confident, firm, that means very solid, very strong, and an outward composure of manner. So she was very composed. You couldn't read her emotions. Her form was very strong. She was a blonde young lady, small, dainty. Dainty means delicate or fragile, easy to break. So if someone is dainty, if you describe a woman as dainty, that would have been considered a very desirable characteristic at the time. Like gentle, not strong, very feminine, maybe. Dainty means small. I wonder what kind of pictures, if we look up the word dainty, what kind of pictures do we get? Very strange, but for some reason it shows a necklace. Maybe that's like the brand name of a necklace or something, or some kind of jewelry, because when you look up the word dainty, you see mostly this jewelry, which is very small and feminine jewelry. But also, I mean, the thing that I was thinking we would see would be flowers, and they do show some flowers. You know, flowers, they're beautiful, but they're easy to break, or they die very quickly. They're weak. But not necessarily in a bad way. You admire things that are dainty. They're small and beautiful, or something like that. Well, that's a word I know we haven't practiced. Maybe I'll put that on the list today. We'll talk about dainty. Let me put that up here. All right. So she was a blonde young lady, small, dainty, well gloved. So she was wearing fancy gloves and dressed in the most perfect taste. There was, however, a plainness and simplicity about her costume, which bore with it a suggestion of limited means. So to have means to have money. Means like ability or ways. So if you have means, that means you have abilities or money. If you have limited means, that's like a very polite way of saying you don't have any money. So she was dressed very nicely. She looked very beautiful, but you could tell from the quality of her clothes she didn't have a lot of money. She had limited means. She didn't have a lot of abilities or options for clothes. The dress was somber. Somber means really it means shadow. Was a French word, but it comes from Latin that means shadow or dark. So, but in English, somber means serious. The dress was serious, so maybe dark colors, not very feminine, no flowers or anything like that, nothing fancy, just very, very serious. The dress was a somber grayish beige, untrimmed and unbraided, and she wore a small turban of the same dull hue. Hue means like color. Relieved only by the suspicion of white feather in the side. So the way she was dressed was in very plain colors, but she had one little decoration, a little white feather. Her face had neither regularity of feature nor beauty of complexion, but her expression was sweet and amiable. That word "ami" in Latin, "ami" means friend, and also could become. It also is related to the word love, like amor. But so amiable means easy to like, easy to be a friend. So if you say that someone is amiable, that means they're very friendly. It's easy to talk to them. It's easy to be friends with them. Her expression was sweet and amiable. So the way she didn't look serious. She was dressed in a serious way. She was dressed in a somber way, but her expression, her face, seemed friendly. It seemed amiable. And her large blue eyes were singularly spiritual and sympathetic. In an experience of women which extends over many nations and 3 separate continents, I have never looked upon a face which gave a clearer promise of refined and a sensitive nature. So Watson, who has traveled the world, says that she was unusually kind-looking. There was something about her that you don't often see in people. I could not but observe that she took the seat which Sherlock Holmes had placed for her. Her lip trembled. Trembling is like shaking. So if her lips were trembling, maybe she was very close to crying, but she wasn't crying. I don't know if you can see that. And her hand quivering. Quivering is also a type of shaking. So her lips were shaking, and she was nervous, and her hand is quivering. That means shaking also. And she showed every sign of intense inward agitation. So even though her expression, her face seemed very friendly, amiable, and her composure was very good, you couldn't really see her emotions. If you look closely, you can see her lip is trembling, shaking, her hand is quivering, shaking. So you could see, if you were looking carefully, that something was bothering her. Agitation means bothering, disturbing. "I've come to you, Mr. Holmes," she said, "because you once enabled my employer, Mrs. Cecil Forrester, to unravel a little domestic complication. She was much impressed with your kindness and skill." So she's explaining to Sherlock Holmes that I'm coming to you because one of my previous employers, my former employer, you helped my former employer with something, and she was very satisfied with the way that you helped her. "Mrs. Cecil Foster," he repeated thoughtfully. "I believe that it was of some slight. I believe that I was of some slight service to her. Slight means a little. I believe I was of little service to her. The case, however, as I remember it, was a very simple one." "She did not think so. But at least you cannot say the same of mine. I can hardly imagine anything more strange, more utterly inexplicable than the situation in which I find myself." You see the word explicable, which comes from the same word as explain. So if something is inexplicable, that means I cannot explain it. That's a pretty fancy word, inexplicable. Maybe we'll practice that one today. Inexplicable. I know we haven't done that. So that means I can't explain it. It's impossible to explain. Let's read that again. "So she did not think so, but at least you cannot say the same of mine." Well, my employer didn't think that it was a simple problem, but you definitely cannot say that about my problem. "I can hardly imagine anything more strange, more completely unexplainable, inexplicable." So I have a really weird problem, is what she's saying. One you cannot explain, inexplicable. "Then the situation in which I find myself." Holmes rubbed his hands, and his eyes glistened. That means you could see light shining in his eyes. He leaned forward in his chair with an expression of extraordinary concentration. Clear-cut, hawk-like features. "State your case," he said in a brisk business tones. So stating your case means tell me your problem, tell me your situation. It's a little bit rude. It sounds a little bit rude. "State your case, tell me your problem, explain what's going on." I felt that my position was an embarrassing one. "You will, I'm sure, excuse me," I said, rising from my chair. To my surprise, the young lady held up her gloved hand and detained me. "If your friend..." So Watson is saying, all right, so let's just explain what's happening here. The woman comes in, and now she's saying, I have a really big, weird, strange problem. And Sherlock Holmes says, "Okay, come on, tell me." And so Watson, Dr. Watson, who really does, this is the second time he's been involved in a Sherlock Holmes mystery. He doesn't feel comfortable sitting there while she's going to talk about personal situations. So he says, "Okay, I'm leaving." He gets up to leave, and the woman stops him. She says, No, wait. She doesn't want him to leave. To my surprise, the young lady held up her gloved hand to detain me. To detain someone means to stop them, to prevent them from moving forward. "If your friend," she said, "would be good enough to stop, he might be of inestimable service to me." So the woman is saying, if you don't mind, maybe you can help. I relapsed into my chair. Briefly, she continued, the facts are these. My father was an officer in an Indian regiment who sent me home when I was quite a child. My mother was dead, and I had no relative in England. I was placed, however, in a comfortable boarding establishment in Edinburgh, and there I remained until I was 17 years of age. And in the year 1878, my father, who was a senior captain of his regiment, obtained 12 months' leave and came home. He telegraphed me from London that he had arrived all safe and directed me to come down at once, giving the Langham Hotel as his address. All right, so the girl, I guess the girl, her father was an officer in India. And did she live there? Yes, when she was still very young, the father sent her back to England, and she stayed at a boarding school. So boarding, it means you live there and they give you food. So you have the regular school where you go there in the morning and then you come home at night. But a boarding school, you live in the school and they feed you. You never leave the school. You're always there. So when she was very young, because she had no relatives, her father sent her to England and she stayed in a boarding school. Well, in Scotland, in Edinburgh. But then when she got older, she received a message from her father saying, "Okay, I'm back in England. Please come see me. I'm staying at the Langham Hotel." On reaching London, I drove to the Langham and was informed that Captain Morstan was staying there, but that he had gone out one night before he had not yet returned. I waited all day without news from him. So she went from Edinburgh to London to the hotel where her father was staying, and at the hotel they said, "Yes, he's here, but he left, I don't know what they said, yesterday, and he hasn't returned." Or he left in the morning and he has not returned. So she sat in the hotel and waited for him. That night, on the advice of the manager of the hotel, I communicated with the police, and the next morning we advertised in all the papers. Our inquiries let no result, and from that day on to this, no word has ever been heard of my unfortunate father. He came home with his heart full of hope to find some peace, some comfort, and instead, she put her hand to her throat, and a choking sob cut short the sentence. So she started to cry. So that day she waited for her father all day at the hotel. He never came, and at night the manager of the hotel suggested that she should contact the police. And so the police and she were looking for him for a long time, but no one ever heard from the man again. And now she's telling the story. She's stopping herself from crying. "The date?" asked Holmes, opening his notebook. "He disappeared upon the 3rd of December, 1878, nearly 10 years ago. His luggage remained at the hotel. There was nothing in it to suggest a clue. Some clothes, some books, and a considerable number of curiosities from the Andaman Islands. He had been one of the officers in charge of the convict guard there. Had he any friends in town? Only one that we know of, Major Sholto, of his own regiment, the 34th Bombay Infantry. The major had retired some little time before and lived at Upper Norwood. We communicated with him, of course, but he did not even know that his brother officer was in England." A singular case. All right, singular here means unique or interesting or uncommon. It's not really, I don't think that it's used very much in contemporary English to mean uncommon or unique, but that's what it means here. I've not yet described to you the most singular part. About 6 years ago, to be exact, upon the 4th of May. So again, singular here means unique, unusual, strange. So I haven't told you the strange thing yet. About 6 years ago, to be exact, upon the 4th of May, 1882, an advertisement appeared in the Times asking for the address of Miss Mary Morstan and stating that it would be to her advantage to come forward. So, in the past, newspapers, before the internet, newspapers were very useful because that's how you could communicate with strangers. So, for example, imagine that you are walking down the street and you find a watch on the sidewalk. What you would have done in the past is probably go and put an advertisement in the newspaper. I was walking up Main Street yesterday and I found a beautiful gold watch on the sidewalk. If it's your watch, please contact this number. And then, so if you lose your watch, you probably would check the newspaper to see if somebody would find it. So that was a very useful pre-internet way of communicating with strangers about things like that in the classified ads. So you might just read the classified ads because you never know what kind of information you could find in it. Maybe somebody is trying to find you or contact you. Or it could just be interesting to read what the drama of other people, So it was a useful thing. And so she's reading the newspaper 6 years ago, and she's reading the classifieds where people put ads, and she sees her name. Please help me find Mary Morstan. It would be a very good idea. She should really contact us, or somebody should contact us with her information, because it would be very good for her, very beneficial for her. That's what it means when it says, it would be to her advantage to contact us. So let's read that again. I have not yet described to you the most singular part. About 6 years ago, to be exact, upon the 4th of May, 1882, an advertisement appeared in the Times asking for the address of Miss Mary Morstan, and stating that it would be to her advantage to come forward. There was no name or address appended. I had at the time just entered the family of Mrs. Cecil Forrester in the capacity of governess. So what she's saying is, at that time, I had just gotten a job, and I was working in the house of Mrs. Cecil Forrester. And a governess is a woman who is in charge of the children. Not necessarily washing the children or something like that, but more like educating the children, or spending time with them, or making sure that they do the correct things. And so Mary Morstan asked her new employer, what should I do? That's why, by her advice, I published my address in the advertisement column. So Mary Morstan actually, she said, I'm here. This is where I live. And she put that in the newspaper. The same day, there arrived through the post a small cardboard box addressed to me, which I found to contain a very large and lustrous pearl. Luster, the word luster means it gives a lot of light. So lustrous means like very shiny, giving a lot of light. And if you don't know what a pearl is, I'll just show you a picture. This is a pearl. Pearls, I don't know how valuable they are now, but they used to be very valuable. So it was a lustrous pearl. It was a pearl that was very shiny. I wonder what happens if we put lustrous. Lustrous pearl. I mean, they all look the same. I don't see the difference. A pearl is a pearl. To me. So she publishes her address. She says, it's me. I'm here. And that day, she receives a package in the mail. And it contains a very beautiful pearl that's probably worth a lot of money. The same day there arrived through the post a small cardboard box addressed to me, which I found to contain a very large and lustrous pearl. No word of writing enclosed. So there was no letter. It was just a box with a very valuable pearl in it. They've been pronounced by an expert to be of a rare variety and of considerable value. You can see for yourselves that they are very handsome. She opened a flat box, and she spoke and showed me 6 of the finest pearls I had ever seen. Your statement is most interesting, said Sherlock Holmes. Has anything else occurred to you? Yes, and no later than today, and that is why I have come to you. This morning I received this letter, which you will perhaps read for yourself. Thank you, said Holmes. The envelope, too, please. Postmark, London, S.W., date July 7th. Man's thumb mark on corner. Probably postman. Best quality paper. Envelopes at 6 pence a packet. Particular, man and his stationery. No address, but at the 3rd pillar from the left outside the Lyceum. Theater tonight at 7 o'clock. If you are distrustful, bring 2 friends. All right, so Holmes is this afternoon, the woman received a letter. 6 years ago, she received a gift of these 6 valuable pearls. And that was it. But then suddenly today, she receives a very mysterious letter. And the letter says, to be at the 3rd pillar from the left outside the Lyceum. So I guess the Lyceum is, let's see, Lyceum, London. I guess it's a theater. Yeah. So we'll just take a look at the picture here. Here is the Lyceum. And then the columns, I don't know if you can see this. The columns are the pillars are the, how many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, there are 6 pillars. Those are the pillars. Let's go back. So the note says, be at the 3rd pillar from the left outside the Lyceum theater tonight at 7 o'clock. If you're distrustful, bring 2 friends. So it's also saying you can bring other people with you if you like, if you're worried that something bad will happen. Distrustful. You are a wronged woman and shall have justice. Okay, so the person is saying somebody did something very bad to you, and I want to make it right. I want to give you justice. Do not bring the police. If you do, all will be in vain. Your unknown friend. So the letter is pretty much saying, meet me tonight at the theater. Somebody did something very bad to you once, and I want to make it right. But don't call the police. If you call the police, all will be in vain. That means nothing will happen. All of the things that we're doing will come to nothing. We've talked about that word, feign, before. Well, really, this is a very pretty little mystery. What do you intend to do, Miss Morstan? And that is exactly what I want to ask you. Then we shall most certainly go, you and I, and yes, why, Dr. Watson is the very man. Your correspondent said 2 friends. He and I have worked together before. But would he come? She asked, with something appealing in her voice and expression. I should be proud and happy, said I, fervently, if I can be of any service. You're both very kind, she answered. I have led a retired life, and I have no friends. whom I could appeal to. If I'm here at 6, it will do, I suppose. You must not be later, said Holmes. There's one other point, however. Is this handwriting the same as that upon the pearl box addresses? I have them here, she answered, producing half a dozen pieces of paper. So, Sherlock Holmes wants to know, is the handwriting, the writing of the person who wrote the letter for today, the same as the person who wrote the letter giving her the pearls? And she has the letters, so now Holmes is going to compare them to see if they're the same. You're certainly a model client. You have the correct intuition. Let us see now. So Holmes is saying, you're very good as a client because you anticipated, you knew that I was going to ask to compare the letters. Let us see now. He spread out the papers upon the table and gave little darting glances to one another, from one to the other. We've seen the word dart. I remember we talked about the word dart when we were doing 1984. And let me show you what a dart is. This is a dart. So darts, that's a game. And the thing that you throw, that's called a dart. I remember in 1984 we were talking about the helicopter moving. I don't know why I remember this, because it was, I think, years ago now. But for some reason I remember talking about the helicopter darting. So the helicopter wasn't just moving, it was moving like throwing a dart. Like here, it's here, and then it's here. So you would say the helicopter darted across the sky. Something like that. Now, a glance is a look. So a darting glance would be a look like this. Very quick movements. No, I've lost my place. Oh, here it is. Wrong column. He spread out the papers upon the table and gave little darting glances from one to the other. So he said presently, but there can be no question as to the authorship. See how the irrepressible Greek E will break out, and see the twirl of the final S. A twirl is like something like that. They are undoubtedly the same person. I should not like to suggest false hopes, Miss Morstan. But is there any resemblance between this hand and that of your father? Nothing could be more unlike. So Sherlock is saying, well, do you think that maybe the writing of your father is similar to this letter? And she says, absolutely not. No. I expected to hear you say so. We shall look out for you. Then at 6, pray, allow me to keep the papers. I may look into the matter before then. It is only 3:30. Au revoir, then. Au revoir, said our visitor. So, let's just read that again. I expected to hear you say so. So Sherlock Holmes is saying, I didn't think it was your father. We shall look out for you then at 6. We'll wait for you at 6. Pray. Now, this word pray, which means like talking to God, but in the past it could also mean please. People don't really talk like that anymore. It would be weird to talk like that in contemporary English, to say pray instead of please. But in the past it was very common that pray would be something you would say in before you make a request. Like, pray tell me. That means please tell me. Something like that. But it isn't common. It isn't very common in contemporary English. So let's see. He says, "Pray, allow me to keep the papers. I may look into the matter before then. It is only 3:30. Au revoir." So, au revoir, that's a French way of saying goodbye. Kind of means like until later. And you could still say it in English, in contemporary English, but I wouldn't recommend it. It's not so common in contemporary English. It was more common 100 years ago, I would say, to use that term. So she replies, "Au revoir." She says goodbye. See you later, really is what it means. Said our visitor, and with a bright, kindly glance from one to the other of us, she replaced her pearl box in her bosom. This is the bosom part. So if she's taking the pearls and either she's putting them in her inside jacket or maybe she's placing them here somewhere safe, and hurried away. Standing at the window, I watched her walking briskly down the street until the gray turban and white feather were but a speck in the somber crowd. "What a very attractive woman!" I exclaimed, turning to my companion. He had lit his pipe again and was leaning back with drooping eyelids. "Is she?" he said languidly. "I did not observe." So Watson recognizes that she's very attractive, but Holmes, if he's being honest, is saying, "I didn't notice that she was attractive." You really are an automaton. Automaton is like a robot. It's like the 19th century version of a robot. So Watson says, "You're like a robot. How could you not notice that she's so beautiful?" "You really are an automaton. A calculating machine," I cried. "There's something positively inhuman in you at times." He smiled gently. "It is of the first importance," he said, "not to allow your judgment to be biased by personal qualities." So that word bias sort of means like influence. "A client to me is a mere unit. A factor in a problem. The emotional qualities are antagonistic to clear reasoning." Well, that's kind of a difficult passage. Let's read that again. He smiled gently. It is of the first importance," he said, "not to allow your judgment to be biased." So he says, it's really important for me not to have my judgment be influenced by, for example, beauty, by personal qualities. A client to me is a mere unit. So to me, mere means like only. So a client to me is just a thing. It's not a person. It's not a pretty person or an ugly person or an angry person or a kind person. It's just a thing, just a unit. The emotional qualities are antagonistic to clear reasoning. So he's saying that emotions just get in the way of finding the truth. I assure you that the most winning woman I ever knew was hanged for poisoning 3 little children for their insurance money. So he's saying, he's giving an example of how emotions can I'm going to say cloud your judgment, make your judgment unclear, bias your judgment. He's saying the most wonderful woman you ever could realize actually killed her 3 children just for some money. And the most repellent man, so the most horrible man that I know of my acquaintance is a philanthropist who has spent nearly $250,000 upon the London poor. So the most horrible man I know, the man with the worst attitude, actually secretly he gives money, enormous amounts of money to help the poor. So he's saying that these kind of appearances are very deceiving, are biased. They influence you in bad ways. In this case, however, I never make exceptions. An exception disproves the rule. Have you ever had an occasion to study character and handwriting? What do you make of this fellow's scribble? It's legible and regular. Legible means I can read it. It's easy to read. If something is legible, it means that the letters are very clear. If something is illegible, it means, which is probably how you would use that word. Let's see, illegible. Illegible means the letters are not clear, so you cannot read it. I just typed illegible into Google to see what kind of things. Let's see, can we read that? No, I cannot. That is absolutely illegible. It's really hard to read. You could say it's illegible. I can't read it. So when Holmes says, well, what do you think of the writing? Watson answers, it's legible, which means the letters are clear. I can read the letters very easily. It's legible and regular, I answered. A man of business habits and some force of character. Holmes shook his head. Look at his long letters, he said. They hardly rise above the common herd. The D might be an A, and the L might be an E. Men of character always differentiate their long letters, however illegibly they may write. So Holmes is making observations about the way this man writes, saying that his letters are sometimes ambiguous. E's look like L's, and I forget the other ones he used, but he's making an observation about the way that he writes. And he's saying he's not a businessman. He's not a man of business. He said character. Men of character always differentiate their long letters. To be of character, that means to be high quality. There is vacillation in his K's and self-esteem in his capitals. I'm going out now. I have some few references to make. Let me recommend this book. One of the most remarkable ever penned. It is Winwood Reade's Martyrdom of Man. I shall be back in an hour. I sat at the window with the volume in my hand, but my thoughts were far from the daring speculations of the writer. My mind ran upon our late visitor, her smiles, the deep rich tones of her voice, the strange mystery which overhung her life. If she were 17 at the time of her father's disappearance, she must be 27 now, a sweet age, when youth has lost its self-consciousness and become a little sobered by experience. So I sat and mused. Mused means thinking, considering, something like that. So I sat and mused until such dangerous thoughts came into my head that I hurried away to my desk and plunged furiously into the latest treatise upon pathology. What was I? An army surgeon with a weak leg and a weaker banking account, that I should dare to think of such things. She was a unit, a factor, nothing more. She was a unit, a factor, nothing more. If my future were black, it was better surely to face it like a man than to attempt to brighten it by mere will-o'-wisps of the imagination. So Watson found himself fantasizing about her. And then he thought, oh, I better stop this. And he made himself busy doing other things because he was saying, a woman like that would never be in love with me. At least that's how I'm interpreting it. Okay, well, that was a pretty short chapter. That's the end of chapter 2. So what we'll do now, I've got 4 words here that I've chosen. Let's take a look at those words for a minute. We've got dainty, inexplicable, biased, and mere. So don't go away if you want to practice improving your accent, because now what we're going to do, we're going to take a few minutes break so that I can put definitions for these words and put together a little exercise that we can practice. And then Pachio's volunteered on Discord to work with us. So we're going to practice using these words and sentences and working on our accents as well. All right, so don't go away, and I'll be back in a few minutes once I've put everything together, and then we will be practicing. All right, we're back. Thank you for waiting. Now let's see, I'm just going to turn off the music, and we've got our vocabulary words here. Now let's see if Pachu is here. Just 1 second. Let's see. Hello? Pachu, can you hear me?
Hello.
All right.
Yes, sir.
Okay, wonderful. How are you doing today?
That's a great
Great. Oh, fantastic. Let's see. Pachu, have you ever seen the word dainty before?
dainty. No, sir.
Okay, now that's the same sound as great. Dainty. Dainty.
Dainty.
Yeah,
Dainty.
dainty.
Yes.
Great. Dainty. It's the same sound.
Great.
Uh dainty means something that's small, easy to break. Do you know the word fragile?
Yes.
So something small and fragile, easy to break, but also probably beautiful. So something it's a very feminine word. It's used a lot to describe things about women. So uh, a woman maybe has dainty hands or dainty feet. What do you think that would mean? Dainty hands or dainty feet?
Okay.
What do you suppose that could?
Yes. Yes. Small.
But also it
Very
has the idea
small.
of small and beautiful or small and easy to break.
Yes. Delicate.
Yeah,
Yes.
delicate is a good word. That's here. It says small, delicate, pretty. Okay. What do you
Yeah.
think dainty footsteps? What do you think that would be like? Dainty footsteps.
Yeah. It is small and beautiful.
Mhm.
Yeah. Small and beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe
So.
mhm.
So.
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Dainty means. Dainty means small, delicate, and pretty in all. Yes.
Yeah. It's small. It's very easy to break. You have to be very gentle or careful with it, and also beautiful.
Okay.
So let's see if I put dainty cup. Let's see what we get. You get very beautiful cups. So I'm just going to show that for
Yeah.
a minute. Like probably expensive also. So see that I don't know if you can see these, but they're pretty, they're kind of feminine looking, easy to break. You have to be very careful with them, otherwise they could break.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
could you could have a dainty heart. That would be a heart. That means you're a very sensitive person.
Yeah. I am. Yes.
Does
Yeah.
that
I
make
am very
sense?
sensitive.
You- but
Yes.
so you could say
Yeah.
my heart. Be careful, my heart is very dainty. But that's you. You really couldn't say that as a man. People would think that's kind of strange if you say that as a man. But uh, you could if you wanted
Okay.
to. Does that make sense though? With that?
Okay. Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
All right. So let's see. Let's make a sentence here. Let me find. Where is it? Okay. So if I say she picked up the dainty cup. She picked up the dainty cup. Could you repeat that? She picked up the dainty cup.
She, she picked up a dainty cup. She
What are
picked up a
the
dainty cup.
hmm what are the important words in that sentence?
The pick, pick dainty cup.
Okay. What's the difference between pick and pick up?
So the pickup is phrasal verb,
hmm Does it mean
and
anything different? Does it mean something different from pick?
I don't think so. Yeah, the same meaning. And
Usually a phrasal verb has a different meaning from just a regular verb. Pick means like select. And pick up means
okay,
that something is sitting somewhere and then you raise it. You make it go higher.
yes.
So pick means like select. Here, Pachu, do you want the blue one or the green one? Pick one. Select one.
Yeah.
But if I say pick up the blue one, that means that the blue one is sitting and you want to raise it. You want to make it higher. You see the difference?
Okay.
And
Yes. Yeah. 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 So up is also indicating that it is, yeah.
I'm sorry, you cut out. There's a problem with the connection. Can you repeat that? You said up is also what?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
In picked up, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Up is also indicating that it is something upward
Yeah,
direction.
that's right.
Yeah.
In other words, and that was my next question, is this literal or abstract in meaning? Pick up.
So I think it is literal.
Okay.
Yeah, literal.
So we have the verb pick up. It's a literal phrasal verb. So which word should you emphasize? Pick or up?
So up,
Yeah, that's right. If it's literal, then you emphasize the preposition. And so not necessarily picked,
yeah,
but picked up. Picked up like that.
picked up.
So
Yeah,
what do we have?
picked
We've
up.
got she picked up the dainty cup. What other words are important? We've got up and what else?
Also, it's a dainty and cup.
Okay, but remember it's not denty, but dainty. Two sounds. E, like great, dainty, same sound.
Dainty,
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 great,
dainty,
dainty.
dainty,
Okay.
dainty.
And that's two syllables, dainty. Which syllable has all of the emphasis?
So dan, dan,
Day, 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 day.
day, day.
Okay.
Yes.
So now we have the rhythm. She picked up the dainty cup.
She picked up the dainty cup.
Okay. Now, Pachu, this is a separable phrasal verb. That means that you can put the object inside the verb. You can do the inside position. Can you try that? Can you put the object inside the verb? How would that sound?
Okay, okay. So, so she picked up the cup.
What is the
So,
what is the object?
sorry.
Go
So,
ahead.
can I try?
Sure, go ahead.
She picked cup up the den. Sorry, she picked the dainty cup up.
That's right.
Yes.
That right. It sounds like a she picked. Let me change this. She picked the dainty cup up. That sounds funny. Cup up. She picked.
Yeah, but it tends to speak like this. She picked the dainty cup up. Yeah,
Yeah,
but we
but
generally
mhm.
say she picked up the dainty cup. It's easy.
Yeah, and now I think we emphasize both of the words because they're very far apart. So we'll emphasize picked. This is just to keep the rhythm though of the sentence. All right, that's why we're doing it. And if we're going to emphasize cup, we're going to have to pause. Why do you have to pause here, Pachu? You can't say cup up. You have to say cup up. Why?
Yeah. So the two have same strong sound.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to pause between the two words. a little bit. Yeah.
That's right. That's what, because in English the pattern that you have in English is big sound, small sound, big sound, small sound, big sound, small sound, and you
Yeah.
cannot put two big sounds together. It's not possible. So if you have two sounds together, you have to pause. She picked the dainty cup up.
She picked the dainty cup up.
Okay. Let's say, how will you change the sentence using the word plate?
Okay. So she picked the dainty plate up.
Okay, but it's not
Plate up.
plate. It's plate. Just like great, dainty,
Okay. So
plate.
so she she picked she picked the dainty plate up.
She
Yes.
picked the dainty plate up. That's right. That's right. Can you change it again? This time, let's use flower.
Okay. She picked the dainty flower up.
Okay. So flower, that's something that you would describe as dainty because it's easy to break, it's very delicate, it's also very beautiful, and usually they're pretty small. So that's
Yeah.
a word that you would use dainty with a lot. And it's very feminine. Dainty is a very feminine word. It describes
Yeah.
feminine things a lot. Okay, can you say that again? She picked the dainty flower up.
She picked the dainty flower up.
Okay. How will you make a why question with that sentence?
Why did she pick the dainty flower up?
Why did she? Why did she?
Why did she? Why did she?
Why did she pick?
Why did she pick?
Yeah, so you see we have the important word why, that's very big, and then did she, that's not important, so it's very small. And then pick becomes big again. Why did she pick?
Why did she pick?
Why did she pick
So
dainty flower up? So go ahead.
just I just want to say a few words.
Mm-hmm.
So when I listen you and I just noticed that someone is speaking, and I feel that the words, some words are um up, up and down. But when I speak, I don't realize that I am doing up and down or not. But I feel that, yeah, just like you and other, I feel that the words are, some words are very big, some words are small. But when I speak, I do not know I'm doing big sound or a small sound in the word sentence. Yeah.
Well, I think it's attached to your emotions. So the stronger you feel, the bigger the word should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it is
Yes.
though. It's
Maybe.
true.
Yeah.
It is connected with your emotions. So, if I say, Pachu,
Yes.
how are you?
Okay.
How are you, Pachu? Great. That sounds like really happy and enthusiastic. Pachu, how are you? Great.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound very sincere if you say it like that. Great. I'll say, really? It is. It's connected with how you feel about the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes. 100% true. Yes. Yeah. Yes.
So,
Yes. Yeah.
so that's why
So
it's just the
yeah, just
important. Yeah, it's just the important words. You feel strong about the important words, and you don't feel anything about the unimportant words.
okay.
How do you feel about dainty? How do you feel nice about that word? Is that a nice word?
Yes.
Okay.
Dainty.
Okay, so
Dainty.
so if you say dainty, it doesn't carry any emotion with it. It doesn't carry any importance. But if you say dainty, then I understand
Yes.
it's important and you feel that it's important. And do you feel it's nice? Is it important in a nice way or a bad way?
on the nice way. I
Okay.
think,
So,
yeah,
and
it's
that's why
good.
you use the high tone. Dainty.
Okay,
Dainty.
dainty,
Yeah.
dainty.
That's two signals that one signal is number one is important, so it's very long, dainty. But
Yeah,
also you
yeah.
feel good about it, so you say it in a high tone, dainty.
Yes. So when I give presentation, and at that time I make some words bigger because
Mm.
I feel that, yeah, I have to express so that the audience know what I'm saying and what he has to understand. Yeah.
Isn't it? It's true in Hindi, right? That in Hindi, like when something is important, they repeat it twice, right? Isn't that true?
Yes.
But in English, what you would do is you wouldn't repeat it twice. Probably you would just make it long.
Yes.
So, like for example, very. Okay, if very is an important word to you, then instead of saying very, very, you would say very. You make it big. And if it's serious, you make it low. Very. But if it's happy or good or positive, you make it high. Very. You
Okay.
see?
Very. Yes. Yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah, so it's tied to your emotion.
Yes. Yes.
Try to think about that. So when you're expressing yourself, how do you feel about it? If it's positive, do a high tone. If it's negative, do a low tone. If it's important, make the vowel sound much bigger.
Okay, sir. Okay.
And if it's not important, don't spend any time with it. Just run through it. Is that pretty clear?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
But I know it's still difficult, but but at least we can talk about it in this way.
Yeah.
So
Yes. Yes, sir.
so let's make that question again. Why did she pick the dainty flower up?
Why did she pick the dainty flower up?
Okay. And let's say because it was beautiful. Or let's say very beautiful.
Because it was very beautiful.
That's right. So the stronger you feel about it, the longer the vowel sound will become.
Okay.
All right. Let's try the next word, which is inexplicable. Have you ever seen that word before? Inexplicable.
Yes, yes. I seen somewhere. Yes,
hmm
inexplicable. Yeah.
Well, that word explicar, that's Latin. That means to explain. That's where that word comes from. Explicar means
Yes.
explain. So, explicable. What does explicable mean? If explica means explain, what does explicable mean?
Yeah. So as cannot be explained.
Well, if you add in the negative prefix in, then it means cannot. But explicable means can explain. Something easy
Yeah.
to explain.
Easy to explain. Yes.
Mhm.
Uh,
And then inexplicable means cannot explain.
Cannot explain. Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you see the sentence that I have here? His disappearance was inexplicable. You see
Okay.
that?
Is this? Okay. It is coming, sir. His disappearance was inexplicable.
All
Yeah.
right. What are the important words in that sentence?
So is disappearance and inexplicable.
Okay. Now let's look at disappearance first. That's a pretty big word. How many syllables does it have?
So it's disappearance, appearance three.
It has four. Disappearance.
Disappearance. Yes.
And which syllable has all of the sound? Disappearance. Disappearance.
So dis disappearance, appearance,
Peer.
disappearance,
Peer. Peer.
appear.
Peer. Peer. Okay. So that's the big sound. Peer. The other parts of the word are not big. His disappearance.
Yes, disappearance.
Mm-hmm. Say the two words together. His disappearance.
Its disappearance.
You say dissa. Can you say dissa?
Disa.
Dissa. Now say disappear.
Disappear.
Like that. His disappearance.
His disappearance.
Okay. Now let's look at inexplicable. How many syllables does that have?
So inexplicable. 4.
I think it's 5. Wait, let me try again. Yeah, it's 5. 5. In. We've
Okay.
got in, ek, splick,
Click.
bull.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
In, ek. And this is, some people have a really hard time pronouncing an X. So let's just look at how that breaks down. In, ek.
In.
In, ek. Split, ka, bull. You see that? In, ek, split, ka, bull.
Yeah, it's a slight delay. Okay. Okay. Yes.
Can you try to say that? Try to say each syllable.
Inexplicable.
Inexplicable. Inexplicable.
Inexplicable.
That's right. Inexplicable. And which syllable has all of the sound in that 5-syllable word? Inexplicable.
In, inexplicable. Cable.
Split.
Applicable.
It could. I think
Pli.
it could be split. Sometimes it could be ek. Okay, but let's just say split here. Inexplicable.
Inexplicable.
Inexplicable. Inexplicable. So we'll
Inexplicable. Yeah.
we'll make it big here also. Okay. So let's say his appearance was.
Its appearance was
Inexplicable.
inexplicable. It was
Maybe
inexplicable.
make this a double N. Inexplicable.
Inexplicable.
Mm-hmm.
Inexplicable.
Yeah. Okay. And if you feel very strongly, I can't explain it, then you make this very big. His disappearance was inexplicable.
His disappearance was inexplicable.
Yeah.
Inexplicable.
I mean, if you feel very strongly about that word, you'll really emphasize that syllable.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. It takes time. Yeah, but yes.
Let's change the sentence. Let's change appearance to behavior.
Okay. His behavior was inexplicable.
Okay, what does that mean?
Okay, so his behavior cannot be explained.
That's right. That's right. Okay. And that's hey, just like great and dainty. And what was the other word that we used today? I don't remember. but it's A, behavior. Behavior.
Behavior.
A. I have to hear an E. I don't hear the E part. A. Behavior.
Behavior.
His
Behavior.
his behavior was inexplicable.
His behavior was inexplicable.
Okay, let's change it again. Let's say absence.
Its absence was inexplicable.
His absence.
Its its absence. Its absence.
Mm-hmm. Was inexplicable. His absence was inexplicable.
Its absence was inexplicable.
Okay.
Inexplicable.
Okay, how will you make a why question with that sentence?
Why was his behavior inexplicable?
Why was his behavior inexplicable? I don't know. What reason can we give for that? I think we're in a problem here. I'm not sure how to answer that question. Can you think of an answer?
A bad is a bad, yeah,
Let, let's say
very
because
bad or something.
he was drunk. Although that's an explanation, but I don't know. Let's say because he was drunk.
Yes,
His
yes,
behavior was inexplicable because he was drunk.
because he was
Mhm.
drunk. Because he was drunk. Yes,
His
his
behavior.
behavior
Go ahead.
was inexplicable because he was
Drunk.
he was drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Although that is an explanation, so we kind of ruined it. But oh well, whatever. All right, let's move on. Maybe we did biased before. Have we done that word before? Biased.
Biased. I cannot remember, but yeah, I know the meaning. Biased.
What
Yeah.
does that mean? Biased.
Yeah, biased means yeah, stand in favor of someone. Yeah.
Is it normally good or bad to be biased?
Yeah, the biased is bad.
I guess it depends, though. I mean, if you're not supposed to, do you know what the opposite of biased is?
Yes, unbiased.
It could be unbiased. That's true. You could say unbiased. Here's another word: impartial.
Yes. Yes.
Impartial. Okay, but I mean,
Impartial.
sometimes people have biases because they have preferences. But in a case like, for example, a judge, it would be very bad if a judge were biased. Do you agree?
Yes. Yeah, jobs today jobs are taking a one side position
Yeah, that would not be good.
rather than yes.
So,
Yes.
so in that case, it would be bad if a judge were biased.
Yes.
Can you repeat this sentence? The judge seemed biased and unprofessional.
The judge seemed biased and unprofessional.
What are the important words in that sentence, do you think?
Yeah, the uh, judge seemed biased and unprofessional.
Okay. The judge seemed biased and unprofessional. Which words did you say? Can you repeat that again, please?
Judge seemed biased, unprofessional.
Okay, the judge. Uh, if I think we have to either pick judge or seemed. I think judge, maybe not seemed.
Okay.
Because we want to keep the big small rhythm going. So we have judge and biased and unprofessional. Where do you think, which
Yes.
syllable do you think we should emphasize? An unprofessional.
So is un
Mm-hmm.
uh, unprofessional, professional, yeah, face.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the right thing to do is because that makes it negative, so it could be very important to or you may want to emphasize that because he should be professional, but he's not, right?
Yes,
So, but then also we have to emphasize the accented syllable, which is fesh. Fesh. Unprofessional.
unprofessional,
Fesh. Don't forget to whistle. You have to whistle when you say fesh.
fast, fast,
Whistle. You've got to whistle more. Shh. Shh.
unprofes,
That's better.
unprofessional.
That's better. Unprofessional. Unprofessional.
Yes,
All right, so we have our big small rhythm. The judge seemed biased and unprofessional.
the judge seemed biased and unprofessional.
Okay. What if we change unprofessional to angry?
Okay, so judge seemed biased and angry.
Okay, but is and an important word in our sentence, or is it just something that we can ignore?
Ignore. Uh,
Yeah, a lot of times when and is ignored, it just sounds like the judge seemed biased and angry.
the judge seemed biased and angry.
Yeah, it just becomes I mean, you can't. It's nothing wrong with saying and, but that's not really the natural rhythm. It sounds unnatural to say the judge seemed biased and angry. So it usually becomes mm.
Yeah. So to become natural, so we reduce or link as possible. Yes, so that it can take less time. Yeah, to say all the words.
Yeah, actually, oh no, no, this doesn't help. I thought we could find a picture of something, but it's not going to work. Yeah, and usually just becomes something like or or something like that. You usually won't pronounce it so clearly. It usually won't be and unless it's a very important word. Then you would. All right.
Yes.
What if we say? Let's see, what else can we change this to? The judge seemed biased and angry. How about one more word? Unfair. Let's say unfair.
Okay. The judge seemed biased and unfair.
Okay. You know what's funny about this word, unfair? Just like when we said unprofessional, remember we emphasized un? Remember that? So we had when we did unprofessional, we emphasized two sounds in that word. Remember?
Yes. Unfair. Unfair.
Yeah,
Unfair.
we did fesh and unprofessional because that's the accented syllable, but we also emphasized the first sound un just to make sure that the negative, it's very clear we're talking about the negative, right?
Yes.
And I
Yeah.
think you have to do the same thing with fair. Okay, if you want to say unfair, you have to pronounce both syllables very clearly. So there's a pause. You're going to have to pause. Unfair.
Unfair.
Yeah.
Unfair.
hmm I think that's the way it sounds best. So the judge seemed biased and unfair.
The judge seemed biased and unfair.
How will you make a why question with that sentence?
Why did the judge seem biased and unfair?
And how do you say why plus did plus the?
Why did the why
Why
did
did the?
the
Why did the? Why did the? Why did the?
why did the
Why
why did the why
judge seem
did the
biased and unfair?
why why did the judge seem biased and unfair?
And unfair. Don't forget to say on. That's really important.
Okay, so why did the judge seem biased and unfair?
Mm-hmm. And what kind of answer can we give? I don't know. Uh, what could be the answer? I don't know. Because uh, let's see. Because he only listened to one side,
Yeah,
like that. So why did the
yes,
judge seem biased and unfair? Because he only listened to one side.
yes. The judge seemed biased and fair because he only listened one side.
Now it's really important that you say on. You really have to pronounce the on in unfair because I'm hearing you say fair, which is the opposite.
Okay, so I try. So the judge seemed biased and unfair
Mm-hmm.
because he only listened to one side.
How would you say because he? If you combine those two words together in a phrase, how does that sound?
So the because, kaji,
Because
kaji,
because he
bec-
because
like
he
because
only because he only
because he only
because he only listened to one side.
because he only listened to one side.
The judge seemed biased and unfair because he only listened to one side.
The judge seemed biased and unfair because he only listened to one side.
That's right. Okay. All right, let's do one more word for today, and that is the word mere. Maybe we've done that before. I don't remember. Do you remember doing that word before? Mere.
Mere, yes, maybe, yeah, yeah.
What does that mean? Mere.
Yeah, mere means only or a small,
Mm-hmm.
and
Some
like that.
yeah, to emphasize something is not enough, not sufficient, or
Yes.
something very small, something insignificant, something like that.
Okay.
Uh, let's
So
see.
I cannot see the words. Yeah, where is the
You don't see?
words?
Wait, okay.
Yes.
Oh, I'm looking for a sentence right now to put. There's no sentence yet, so let's see. Uh,
Okay.
uh, how about? So I'm just going to put it was a mere suggestion. What does that mean? What's the difference between saying it was a suggestion and it was a mere suggestion? How does it sound different?
Yeah. So it was a mere session, means not enough session,
Or
not
very small,
sufficient.
nothing big, nothing important.
Yes.
It was just a
Nothing
little
big. Nothing.
suggestion.
It was a little bit session.
Does that make sense? Now you don't sound convinced. You sound a little confused.
No. Yes. It is clear because when we see mere, it is not sufficient or enough. Yeah.
Well, sometimes it
Like
could be not sufficient, but I think maybe here it just means a little, something small, something not very important.
okay, okay. So, and the meaning is not important or
Yeah, I mean, let's
unimportant.
see. Let's compare them because it could mean two different things. So, uh, for lunch, I had a mere piece of bread. So here's mere being used two different ways. Okay, and in one of these, it means not sufficient, but in the other, it just means small or unimportant. Which one? Which one means not sufficient, and which one means unimportant? So we've got two sentences. Number one, it was a mere suggestion, and number two, for lunch I had a mere piece of bread. So that's
Yeah.
using mere.
So,
What? Go ahead.
So one sentence I cannot see
Oh, you don't
because
see
it's
it?
at the top. Yeah,
Oh, wait.
one sentence one.
I don't know why you can't see it because I'm looking at the screen. To me, it seems like. Wait, what if I move it down a little bit? I'm going to put it in Discord so you can see. Okay. So I'm putting the two sentences in Discord, number 1 and number 2.
Yeah, yes. These days, yeah, the technology uh, have a lot of glitches. Yes.
But can you see it? Do you see it in Discord at least, or no?
Okay. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
So in one of these, it means just something small, nothing big, something insignificant, and the other kind of means not sufficient.
Yes.
Which one means not sufficient, and which one means unimportant?
So it was a mere session means not important.
Mm-hmm.
And for lunch, I had a mere piece of bread means not and sufficient.
Yeah.
Yeah, enough.
Yeah. So it could mean it depends on the context which one it could mean. Is that pretty clear?
Yes, yes,
All right.
yes.
Uh, so let's start with it was a mere suggestion. Can you repeat that sentence? It was a mere suggestion.
Okay. No, I see them. Okay, it was a mere session.
Okay. What are the important words in that sentence? It was a mere suggestion.
A mere suggestion.
Mm-hmm.
Suggestion.
And suggestion. 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 How
Suggestion.
many syllables does that have? Suggestion.
Suggestion. Three.
Three.
Suggestion.
Okay, you're right. And which syllable has all of the sound? Suggestion.
Suggest.
Jess.
Suggestion.
Jess.
Yes.
Jess.
Yes.
Jess. So now we have our big, small rhythm. It was a mere suggestion.
Yeah. It was a mere suggestion.
That's right. It was a mere suggestion. Let's change suggestion to gesture. Maybe you don't know that one. Gesture.
Yeah. Gesture. Yeah. Yes.
What does gesture mean?
Yeah. It's a body movement or yeah something like
Oh,
gesture posture.
okay, but you're right. It is a body movement is a gesture. You're right about that. But also you can use gesture in an abstract way. So for example, a friendly gesture. What do you think that means? This is abstract. Mm.
A friendly gesture means yeah courtesy like mm, so respect.
So for example, I gave him a present as a friendly gesture. What does that mean?
Okay, so I give me a present friendly gesture. So it has a different meaning here. Yes, I think friendly gesture. Yeah, is a friendly gesture means like um, what do you call?
Well, it just means
So
like a symbol of friendship or a movement towards friendship, because gesture sort of means movement.
okay, okay, yes.
So, what does that mean? It was oh, Pachu, thank you for the present. How will you answer
Y-
if I said, Pachu, thank you for the present? How would you answer?
Okay, so it was friendly gesture.
Yeah, it was you could just say it was a mere gesture.
Okay, It was a mere gesture.
Like, oh, it was just a little thing I did for you. Don't worry about it.
Okay, okay, yes. Yeah,
Does that make
it
sense?
was a mere gesture.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
That's a kind of a more abstract way of using gesture. So, that would be a sentence that somebody might say. Thank you for the present. They might answer, it was a mere gesture. It was nothing. It was just a little movement I did.
Okay, yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes, sir, yes.
Okay, can you say the whole sentence? It was a mere gesture.
It was a mere gesture.
Mere gesture. Gesture.
It was a mere gesture.
Mm-hmm.
Gesture.
Gesture. Right. Okay, and then let's see. What if we said, let's make a question. Why John give Mary present? Oh, wow, that's hard. Why John give Mary present? Can you make a question with that? Why John give Mary present?
Why did John give Mary present?
A present. A present.
A present.
Yeah, because it's a noun, you have to put a or the or this or that, something in front. So let's say a present. Why did John give Mary a present? Say that again.
Why did John give Mary a present?
Okay, why did John give Mary a present? And how would you substitute John and Mary? Which pronouns would you use in that situation?
Okay, so we use he for John
Okay.
and she for Mary.
Okay, well, so if we put she here, I think we have a problem if we use the word she. I'm putting it's up on the screen so you can look at it, but there's a problem there. Can you guess what the problem is?
Why did he give her? Sorry, yeah.
That's right.
Okay, why did he give her a present?
Yeah, because this is the receiving form of she that we have to use. Okay. How would you say why plus did plus he? Oh, Pachu, did you disappear?
Yes, no, sir.
Okay.
I am here.
Can you say how would you say why plus did plus he?
Why did he?
Why
did he?
Why did he? Why did he?
Why did he?
How would you say give plus her plus a?
Give her a present.
Give her a, give her a, give her a.
Give it a.
It's
Give her.
give plus her plus a. Give her a. Give her a. Give her a.
Give it a. Give it a. Give it a.
Why did he give her a?
Why did he give it a?
Why did he give her a present?
Why did he give it a present?
Why did he give her a present?
Why did he give it a present?
Okay, and let's say he gave her a present as a mere gesture.
Okay. He gave her a present as a mere of gesture.
How would you say he plus gave plus her plus a?
So why
He,
okay.
maybe that's too complicated to remember. I'm going to put it here. He plus gave plus her plus a. How does that sound altogether? He plus gave plus her plus a. I'll put it in Discord for you.
No, I see.
Okay.
Okay, so he gave her. He gave her.
Okay.
He gave her.
No, but remember, so what is the important word in that phrase?
This the give.
Gave. So this is the same sound that's your favorite sound. Great. Gave. Dainty.
Gave.
Gave.
Dainty.
All right, so
Gave.
that's got to be big. Okay. The other things can be very small, but this gave must be big. He gave her a.
He gave her.
He gave her a.
He gave her.
He gave her a present.
He gave her a present.
As a mere gesture.
As a mere gesture.
He gave her a present as a mere gesture.
He gave her a present as a mere gesture.
But don't run through gave because that's important. That's a really important sound. So it's not he gave her a, but he gave her a.
He gave her a. He gave her a.
He gave her a present as a mere gesture.
He gave her a present as a mere gesture.
All right. Okay. I think that's all we're doing for today. But I'll be back tomorrow. We'll continue this tomorrow at the same time. Okay. So we'll read through chapter 3 of The Sign of the Four, Sherlock Holmes. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for your questions and thank you for participating, Pachu. And I'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Bye bye.
Have a good day. Bye bye.